Hi YouTube. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. I was talking to Doug this morning about a few things like the Mandela effect and time travel and let's see what else. Oh, a couple things. When I'll probably just chat here for a while, give you some of my thoughts. I'll start with the Mandela effect. Um, to me, if somebody writes something on something that I know was different years back, they had currently did this. There were no Mandela effects until men started manipulating things to try and fool people into thinking that things had changed. Or it was a setup to begin with to put people in confusion in desperate times. And let me see, anything more on that? Well, I told Doug, I said, it's like I look outside and up against some wood, there's some GT radio tires. Now, if I look at the GT radio tires and it's spelled RADIAL, and tomorrow I go and look and it's spelled with an O, I will still know that it was changed. But nothing like this has happened in my life. And if it did, um, well, the impossibilities of it not being man manipulated is my point. It's like um, I used to eat Fruit Loops, so if they're going to put a E or a Y on the end now and call them Fruity Loops, I still know they're Fruit Loops. It's like the Bear Stein Bear thing. Um, uh, I think it was the 18th century. The Stein bears were a German bear company that made exclusive bears for mostly Illuminati children, and the books came into play after that and whatnot. And being that they're valuable bears, well, they can change the name all they want. It's just like the Illuminati that were Jews that changed their name from, like, if it was Wiesen or Wiestein, and then they changed it to Weimer or Wheeler or Weiss, doesn't mean that they're still not the same Jew. Do you see what I mean? It's still the same bear. They changed the name. So these things are being done on purpose to make people think that they're losing their mind, basically, is the bottom line. Or like I have a regulator clock. Um, if tomorrow I walk out in my living room and, it's got the chimes, but I got them shut off. But if that says regulator instead of regulator tomorrow, you might convince me of a Mandela effect. But so far in my 60 years, I haven't seen any changes unless it was man-made or manipulated in that way intentionally. So that's my thoughts on that. Give you a little thought on time travel. Okay, assuming that the past, the present, and the future are connected. Um, Yesterday was my past, right now is my present, tomorrow is my future. They're all connected. So I told Doug, I said, here's a scenario. I took a great big jump across the floor. I go, I'm in the past, and I jumped. I said, now I'm in the future. I skipped the present. He's like, oh, you were gone for a second. He gets it. He gets it totally. I think older people are more or less not to be fooled than the younger generation. Everything's got to be bigger, and it's not enough that water is a miracle, or human beings aren't special just like this. None of this the air, none of it's a big enough miracle for these people. They're always looking for something more, if you see my meaning there. It's not great enough. We have to um, pretend in time travel. There is no time. In essence, a day has always been a day, no matter what name you put on it. So, in essence, being say there's a bad entity and a good entity or whatever, God and Satan, whatever part of the world we'll just call them, these two things absolutely know what time it is, what's up. So, um, so then Doug reiterated and said, well, what about leap years? Man made to fool people to think that time has changed. The sun still comes up. The sun still sets. Um, time was made for Satan. So when God says time's up, time's up. Other than that, if it weren't for the sun or the moon, time wouldn't matter. You know, a day would still be a day, whether it be darkness or light. And still, I heard people insist that there has to be good to have evil, there has to be dark to have light. Just insisting on that. Well, it's like me taking a black piece of paper with a white color crayon and drawing. Um, oh no, that would be a bad scenario. Um, if I had a white piece of paper and I used the light crayon on it, so everything was light. So that would be saying, or even on the black piece of paper and using a dark one, it's still what it is, if you see what I mean. You don't have to necessarily not have one without the other. You could write totally in a black pen on a black page and it would still be there, even if it wasn't apparent. You see, it's still all dark. If I was writing and it was all light, it would still be all light. Maybe I can get you to see my drift of this, but nothing in these areas have changed as far as going into different dimensions, and it all time is relative in the sense that it hasn't changed. The only thing was a time limit for Satan, and they're trying to manipulate that to fool people into thinking that something is more radical or more explosive or bigger, like being human isn't good enough. You have to think that we could be a robot, or think that some kind of intelligence, got to be artificial intelligence, has the capabilities of knowing what everybody's doing at one moment. There isn't like a God that could actually do that, you know. And of course, there has to be more than one God. There couldn't be a supreme being. How demeaning would that be? You know, that's what they're trying to make people think. So, yeah. Let me think if I can think of anything else on this. Yeah, I'll show you something I got. Look at that. See what I got? I'm going to write leaked out project. Yeah, I thought things would kind of change, but it hasn't in that area. It's just a promotion of everybody else's bullshit. So they all get together and propagate their agenda to fool people, to take people away from the Bible. And still I hear some clown out there using the Bible to preach and teach things that actually are not in the Bible. So as he's disputing the Bible and tearing that apart and tearing that down, he's promoting um, gods in the plural, and they're promoting all this baloney, this time stepping, transhumanism. Um, it's a Satanistic regime, and they're all working in that channel, you know. And then they got one guy that pretends to actually be a Christian, but he's working with them to lure people in. So when they are all guests on each other's channels, they can promote their Satanistic bullshit. So, yeah, and that's sad. Well, let's see if what else I was gonna put. You just need to know that nothing has changed. There is no Mandela effect. It is bullshit. There is no time travel. It's unnecessary. Um, Being human and having air and water, these are all miracles. Everything, our food, everything, um, God manifested. God made us. God made our lives. He set us on a course and a pattern to learn. And nothing we're saying or doing is changing that. Satan's trying to kill us, and he's using his own to do that with their trickery and foolery and clownness. Boils down to being evil, pretending you're not evil to lure in God's children and take you down any way they can. That's what it boils down to. So, yeah. Well, I hope everybody's well today. It's kind of cold and gloomy. It was a very cold night, as a matter of fact. Well, it happens. It is this time of year. It's just like different parts of the world. Like, well, we're going into winter and it's fall, so we normally have less daylight at this time of day anyway. Um, if anything changes in my skies, I'll certainly let you know. Um, oh yeah, and I was going to talk about the satellites, like the local area network, the LAN, indicating it's over land, and the WAN, the WAN, according to the wireless network, is a little higher up, but the satellites being in our atmosphere actually can appear to be things in our atmosphere. And I studied the LANWN back in when I was studying software application. Um, anyway, so don't be fooled about a lot of things. You'll definitely know in your heart if something's from God, and if it's not, and if it feels icky and it feels like dissuasive, if it's trying to like pull you out of your normal mindset. Just remember, being human is a miracle into itself. God manifested us. We did not manifest ourselves. We do not manifest. Not at this point. Don't be fooled. Don't waste your time with this baloney like that. God's people work together. That now you can foresee something in the future as far as a thought of getting together with a friend or something like that and make that come true and foresee what you might do in that day and that type of thing. But that is totally what God put there for us anyway, and we're just seeing what he already put into play. If that's the meaning to people that a parent would do that for a child, well, then to help them grow, then they can go be demeaned and play their little games. Let them play their games. If you want to call it obedient or loving or God fearing, which I hope you don't. I hope it is love. I hope it is adoration, respect, and not even obedience, just concern for our Father, because he actually gave us lives to learn how to be like him instead of being foolish. So if you can be calm and still in your heart like that without being fooled or tricked, that's very key, you know. So don't play into their games. It's not worth a day of stupid to lose your soul, you know. Well, I'll upload this one and um, I might be back. Oh, I'll just say something real quick. I was going to go for a walk in the woods, but being that it's hunting season and they started blasting again this morning, I was going to walk down to the end and up the hill way back in the woods and show you all the lake, which I will do after hunting season. I could wear red and everything, but I just don't feel like being shot. I mean, actually, this morning I kind of did, but then I thought, yeah, my animals still need me, and my kids might need me too in the future, and maybe some of you out there need me, so why take the chance, right? Maybe tomorrow I'll feel like it. Maybe I'll time step to the end of the road and get shot in the future and go back home where I didn't get shot at all. It's like, oh, the games people play. You know. Do you guys know that song? Games people play now, every night and every day now. Never meaning what they say now, never saying what they mean. Oh, yeah, I sang that about maybe a few weeks ago, I guess. It's so ridiculous. It's awful. It really is. Don't buy into their baloney. Don't buy into the fakeness of people wearing crowns and costumes and their tricks and the electronic bullshit that they're going to try and push with Tesla's bullshit to try and get more money out of people. And just don't buy into this Mandela effect bullshit, because the more you patronize their bullshit, like guy from the future comes back here and you know, when Satan knows what's up at the end, he's going to take somebody and say, this is what's up at the end. So you got to tell him you were there so you can come back and tell him this now, because we got to make sure they don't know that their father's coming back, because that will give them strength, more strength. We want them weak, where they'll subside and say, oh, yeah, I was Mandela affected. Oh, I feel like I time traveled. Oh, God does show us things in the future. That is not time traveling. That's his protrance, his thoughts that he puts in us, in his kids. Satan can do that too with his kids or with you if you let him in. Just don't let him in. You know, it's important to keep your sanity. Just remember that being real and being stable, and you don't have to be loving and kind to trash. And if people are trying to trick people, this is, they're, what about our censorship? Do you not have a right to have the censorship of reality and stabilized minds, and that something has to look more explosive when it's already the biggest miracle you could conceive? You know, you look at that other human being and you think, wow, this is incredible. Does it have to look like a bird? Does it have to do a magic trick? Isn't it good enough that this is a soul, this is a part of us from our Father? All this isn't good enough. The oceans, the air, the trees, our food, the vegetation, um, even electronics. I mean, this isn't good enough. What more? You need more and more and more. When everything's so splendid as it is, we have to play these little games like, oh, there's a fairy and I saw a ghost, and you know, like it goes back to one God. This isn't good enough. I mean, God, that's a big word. And one person can't have that in Satan's mind. This is what they're trying to push. This is important. So I'll leave it at that for right now. And I love you. I just wanted to give you some of my thoughts on some of this stupid crap that they're trying to push out here. Changing lyrics and songs and titles of songs and whatever they're doing. Don't buy into it. It's tricks. Matrix is the right wavelength frequencies. Oh, for God's sake, please. I just can't hardly stand any more of it, you know. So, why can't we just call it that we're connected as humans and we feel that we have to put electric in it to make us sound all like robotic and new wave? Human just isn't good enough anymore, you know. Well, I love y'all. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a very nice day. Night.